Yes.
That's brilliant. Okay, okay. Thank you very much for this very inspiring day. I'll take 5 minutes, no longer. Good afternoon. I am Maria Rosaria Marstico, and I am associate professor at the University of Exeter in the UK. I would like to take these 5 minutes to share with you some key points about the challenge that we are facing actually at Exeter of re-evaluating the number of assessments specifically for engineering students. So my department, I work in an engineering department. So there are three aspects that are tackled in this study that are at the moment is in an experimental phase. First point is how we can diversify assessment while reducing the number. The second one is that students should be doing something meaningful for them and where they can apply knowledge, but also something that they can use to enjoy, actually, to be in such a way that the assessment becomes also authentic. And we also want to create a more collaborative and dynamic environment with less number of assessments. And the second point is that we very much focus on academic time because we obviously are marking and setting the assessment, but learners' time is equally important. And we should create a learning environment where both academic and learner time are used effectively. So what we are facing at the moment at Exeter is that we are over-assessing our students. So it's now time to reevaluate the number of assessments. However, the reality is that changing assessment means not just changing the assessment itself, but altering many factors, including the staff workload, including quality assurance. So it is a kind of slow process to get at the point that is working well properly. And from a learner perspective, students are more likely to be involved and put effort in what they are doing when they realize that actually what they are doing it's important for their career development. They can use it for when they are applying for jobs, so something meaningful, something useful, and everything in the framework of reducing the number of assessments. So I'm sure that, I mean, after this day you are very well known educators, and you have designed a lot of tutorial sessions, so you are familiar with how the traditional tutorial system works. But you have also noticed that the format of the traditional tutorials with questions and solutions is not longer practical, in particular when we are talking about large classes with a huge number of students. And then, and also the idea of having questions and answers is not working for the new generation of students, which are more inquisitive, they're curious, they want to be active. On the other side, formative assessment have been promoted as a active approach where students can learn, they can apply their knowledge, they can get feedback, so they are beneficial, formative assessment, but they are very time consuming from academic perspectives and from learner perspective as well, because we are not actually optimizing the students' energy. So a practical approach that we are trying to propose, and we actually, we are in an experimental phase, is transforming the tutorial sessions into guided self-assessment. So students can evaluate their skills, they can get assistance from tutors, they can engage with their peers, So essentially, they are leading their learning, and they feel like, you know, that this structure will empower them to develop critical thinking, but also to utilize their energy effectively. Actually, they can make mistakes. So we can create an environment where students can make mistakes, and then they can use these mistakes for learning. So in essence, what we are doing is, yes, reducing the number of assessments, but also try to create a space where students are guided through the learning. And the main aim of this challenging and interesting aspects is that we want to create an inclusive and diversify environment, learning environment. So redesigning the session to incorporate guided self-assessment, which encourages students to apply their knowledge actively, but also learn from feedback, learning from mistakes, and then to empower them, and use the peer assessment. So use the inclusivity and the observation of their peers to continue to get inspired and possibly and ideally to create a more collaborative environment. So we tried this exercise, and I just want to conclude this with a comment from a student actually a few months ago. And the student said, "I'm very happy, teacher." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Because I understood." So that was, and it was in this kind of self-assessment, guided self-assessment session. So I will conclude here with just the title of this study, which actually summarized the main elements, which are evaluating the number of assessments and also a guided self-assessment. But I will leave here my email address in case you're interested in exploring this approach in your learning environment. And for now, thank you for listening, and thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Maria. I know it was a short amount of time, but you shared, I think, the essence of what you've done, which is very interesting. I think it's a common problem that we overassess students in an effort to ensure, I guess, that a standard has been upheld, but we sometimes do that to ourselves, that create that problem for ourselves, and we need to solve it ourselves. So thanks, that was very interesting. Kavita,